Today we have come to Toshkent Republican Stock Exchange. You can see the central depository of the stock market. We will have the interview with the CEO of the Toshkent Stock Exchange.
Total market cap of Uzbek capital market is more than 14 billion US dollars. More than 40,000 retail investors who are more or less active in our market.
Why people should care or be interested in the stock exchange? I mean, Uzbek people or even international investors, I mean retail.
Huge mining companies like Navoi and AGMK, Almalik. The total trading volume for the entire year was 4.8 trillion soon. Two large companies sold in Uzbekistan. One was Capital Bank and Hungaran Cement. The total number of trades executed on the Toshkent Stock Exchange was about 80,000.
Toshkent Stock Exchange is expecting more IPOs. Hello everybody, my name is Nur Muhammad Ismailov and this is my channel. In this channel we'll talk about investing, finance, and today we have come to Toshkent Republican Stock Exchange, and today we will explore this market and ask our questions from the CEO of this stock market. Let's go. Inside the stock market, we can see the central depository of the stock market. You can see it's located in the second floor of the stock market. Let's go to the stock market office. Now we will have the interview with the CEO of the Toshkent Stock Exchange, Mr. George Parisishvili. Thank you for accepting our offer and inviting us to your office.
Thank you for coming here.
Thank you. So let's begin our interview by, I will ask the first question. So can you introduce yourself, your education, work experience?
I was born and raised in Georgia. I'm an economist by education. My undergraduate degree is in economics from Tbilisi State University, and then I also did my MBA in the United States of America at the University of Michigan, Stephen Ross Business School. I did an MBA degree there. I'm a career banker. I used to work in banks all my life, except of the last two jobs when I was the CEO of the Georgian Stock Exchange, and then I was hired as a CEO of the Toshkent Stock Exchange. The last job at the Toshkent Stock Exchange started in September of 2022 when I was asked to become the CEO of the stock exchange.
Thank you. So what do you think about our Toshkent stock market?
I think Toshkent, I would say not just the stock market, but the capital market is pretty vibrant. It is still in the early stage of development. We are a frontier market, let's not forget about that. We're not even emerging market yet, we're just frontier market, which usually stands for very exotic, illiquid and exotic markets. Pretty much all post-Soviet markets are considered as exotic, except of maybe Russia, because they are small, illiquid, a little bit hard to access by foreigners, not really well understood. And Uzbek market is just one of them. In comparison to other countries in the region, I think Uzbek market is pretty decent size, especially stock market, equity market as we call it. There are more than 100 stocks traded on the Toshkent Stock Exchange, and if you look at our neighboring countries, not too many countries can boast with such a number. Total market cap of Uzbek capital market is more than 14 billion US dollars.
4 million.
Yeah, which is around more than 15% of GDP of Uzbekistan. The market is, as I said, still in early stage of development, which means that there are certain things that can be improved. For example, we would love to see more good companies on the stock market, big, liquid names, as we call it, that are very interesting for investors. Investors will not come to Uzbekistan unless they see good, interesting companies listed on the stock exchange, where they can earn good money. When we say good company, we mean not good by in terms of financials, but good in terms of corporate governance, transparency, the way they treat minority shareholders. And investors ask all these questions before they invest. They ask whether the company has independent directors in the supervisory board who are supposed to protect interests of minority investors and also held management to account. They ask whether there is any interference from the government in the affairs of the company. They look at the transparency of financial statements, whether they are according to international financial reporting standards. And unfortunately, not too many Uzbek companies report to date in international, according to IFRS, international financial reporting standards. Many of them are still reporting according to local accounting standards, which are not really well understood by international investors. And liquidity. Liquidity is a big issue because investors typically don't like to invest into illiquid securities. Why? Because when they need to sell those securities, they may find it really hard to sell. In a liquid market, you may struggle to sell a few $1,000s worth of shares. When in a liquid market, you can sell tens of millions or even sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars worth of shares in an instant or within a matter of few minutes. So that differentiates our market from more developed markets. Our market is illiquid. So it's hard to trade, it's hard to buy, and it's hard to sell. We don't have too many investors. We have around more than 40,000 retail investors who are more or less active in our market, out of which probably around 10,000 are active every month. That's still very small. For a country of Uzbekistan size, where we have 37 million people, that is a very, very small number. And that's about retail investors. But if you look at institutional investors, there are even fewer. We don't have, unfortunately, at the moment, big institutional investors in Uzbekistan, local ones, I mean, like pension funds, mutual funds. We don't have insurance companies which invest in the stock market. Banks are not investing as well. These are typical institutional investors that you see in every developed market, and they basically provide a lot of support because they have a lot of free funds, they invest long term, they are professionals. So any market needs those professional institutional investors. And like I said, we are lacking them. And if you are talking about foreign institutional investors, there are even fewer. I mean, just I can basically count them on one hand. So we would love to see many more foreign investors in our market, institutional investors, again, pension funds, hedge funds, mutual funds, insurance companies, banks, and they will come. We're certain of it, as long as there is a necessary infrastructure in the market, like custody links, which are absolutely necessary for the local market. As long as they see that there is a sound regulatory framework and laws are, working in terms of protection of minority investors. Courts are independent, and that foreign investors can rely on court decisions. These are the key issues that investors are looking at, and as soon as we fix them, I am pretty sure they will come.
Okay, thank you. You just described the whole stock exchange. but I have the questions prepared, so we'll go the details one by one. So the interesting point here is why people should care or be interested in the stock exchange. I mean, Uzbek people or even international investors, I mean retail.
Stock exchange is a place where securities are traded. We don't sell our own securities, so we don't raise money ourselves. So it's the companies who are traded on our exchange who raise money for their investment needs. If you are asking why people would be interested, let's say retail investors, because a stock exchange provides is a place where they can find alternative investment opportunities. At the moment, as we all know, majority of Uzbek population prefers to invest their savings either in the bank deposit or buy a real estate, or lately that has become very popular, the car.
Yes.
Car has become a sort of alternative investment vehicle for many people. And that's pretty much it. So it's like they don't have much choice. But if you take the stock market, it's huge. I mean, potentially can be huge. I mean, there are so many thousands and thousands of good companies traded all over the world, not just in Uzbekistan. So if you are a stock investor, you are typically investing in local companies, meaning in local stocks traded on the local stock exchange, but you also invest in foreign companies traded in the United States, in Europe, in Asia, all over the world. That allows you as an investor to diversify your savings and or to describe it other way, not to put all eggs into one basket. If you are investing only in real estate, then you are exposed to price on the real estate. If the price goes down because there is a crisis or whatever, then you may suffer a lot. Likewise, if you invest in cars and then something happens to the car, you basically lose all your savings. If you invest only in banks, meaning that you put money in the bank deposit, then you are exposed to the risk on that particular bank, and sometimes things happen and banks go bankrupt also, and people lose money in banks. But more importantly, then you are completely relying on the interest rate that bank is willing to offer you. And at the moment, if you are saving in US dollars, interest rates are not very attractive at Uzbek banks. They pay you at most 6-7% per year. In Uzbek Sum, of course, interest rates are much more attractive. Some banks, I'm hearing, are paying close to 25, 26, in rare cases even 27% on retail deposits, long-term deposits. That is a very attractive investment if you are willing to take local currency risk. But still, you are only investing in one product, which is a bank deposit. Stock market, like I said, allows you to diversify your investments into many different stocks from many different sectors of the economy. You may buy stocks from the, like stocks of banks. You may buy stocks of construction companies, of mining companies, and in Uzbekistan, for example, we have huge mining companies like Navoi and AGMK, Al-Malik. You can buy stocks of supermarkets, so for example, or railway, or there are so many other areas where you can invest if you are investing in the stock market. And that means that unless something like really huge crisis happens, you are pretty safe in the sense that even if a particular stock does not perform really well, if you have invested in 10 different stocks, the likelihood that other stocks will perform well is still pretty high. So you may lose on like one stock or another stock, but other 9 or 8 stocks will do really well. So overall, your portfolio will increase in value. And historically, if you analyze the performance of the stock market for like decades, you will see that despite of having ups and downs and volatility and crisis and everything, the trend or long-term trend is increasing, meaning that the stock market prices are increasing. And people actually make a good money on the stock market in the long term again. So if you again analyze the performance of Dow Jones index or S&P 500 or European indices or Asian indices, you will see that over the many decades, people earned very good money on those markets. Again, it is not without risk. There are sometimes times when there is a crisis and prices on stocks fall down. But if you are a long-term investor and you can just wait and not panic and not sell, then it is very likely that that stock price will bounce back and the prices will go up maybe in a few years' time, and then you will still earn good money. That's why we think that people should consider very seriously investing in the stock market as an alternative investment. We are not saying they should not be buying cars or real estate or bank or putting money in the bank deposit. They should keep doing that. But in addition to that, there is alternative also, very interesting alternative, which is the stock market. And that's why we think they should be paying attention to what is happening on the stock market. And if they think that they can find a stock which is very interesting and promising, they should buy.
Okay, thank you. So as you said, people are looking for the investment opportunities in the local market, like as you said, banks, cars, and other investing opportunities. But recently, for local people, investing become kind of trend. And currently, the investment opportunity in Uzbekistan regulated is stock exchange and crypto market, as you know. So what would you say that about the advantages of the stock exchange of the crypto market
versus the crypto market?
Yes, versus the crypto.
I think it's a little bit hard to make a direct comparison because crypto market is quite different. Stocks typically trade on fundamentals, meaning on the fundamental value of the company that they represent. Crypto, in most cases, is not the price of the crypto asset is not based on the fundamentals, but more on supply and demand. For example, let's take the most popular crypto asset, which is Bitcoin. The supply of Bitcoins is limited. We know that there can be no more than 21 million Bitcoins issued. And periodically they do so-called halving, which means that it becomes more and more difficult to mine new Bitcoins. That creates a shortage of supply in the market. And at times when there is Bitcoin becomes popular, and again, Bitcoin can be extremely volatile, then people are, when there are too many buyers and the supply of Bitcoin is limited, then you see huge price swings. And I have to caution people who would love to invest in crypto market that it is very volatile. You can make a lot of money, but you can also lose a lot of money. And we have seen price of Bitcoin going, up to $70,000, and then falling down to around $10,000, then again going up back up to again $70,000. So it can be really volatile, and investors, in my opinion, should not be investing into crypto assets money that they cannot afford to lose. Similarly to stocks. Stock market can also be very volatile, not as volatile typically as crypto, but you can potentially also lose money on the stock market. Again, the difference is that stock prices are more driven by fundamentals, as I said, of a company, which means that if you can analyze the company, or if you can read a research report by a professional analyst, which usually contains a pretty good analysis of that or another company, you can have a pretty good understanding what the value of that company is and whether the stock price is overvalued, undervalued, or fairly priced. If you think that stock is undervalued, you should buy, because most likely the stock price will go back to its fundamental value sooner or later. And likewise, if you think that stock price is overvalued and it's too expensive, then you should sell, because it is very likely that due to fundamental value, it will then the stock price will go down. That's how typically people make decisions on the stock market. They analyze stocks, they analyze the companies they represent, they read research reports, they talk to brokers, talk to other investors, and then based on the information they gather, then they make a decision to buy or to sell.
So you talked about some statistics about the capital market, like the whole capital market value is 14 billions, and
14, the total market, 1.4. Billion US dollars, yes.
Billion US dollars.
Yeah.
And can you please give us the statistics like before and now, present? So in order to make us a comparison, if the stock market is improving and is the liquidity is becoming more active, because what I have heard from the people who are trading in the Toshkent stock exchange, they're saying liquidity is becoming more than before.
Certainly. Typically, people look at several statistics. One is obviously market capitalization, and I mentioned already that it's more than 14 billion US dollars, which is not bad by frontier market standards. But this is not the only data that people are looking at. They're also looking at the trading volume, how much in terms of monetary value trades are done on the stock exchange, and how frequently people trade, how many trades are done. In Uzbekistan in 2022, the total trading volume for the entire year was 4.8 trillion soons. In 2023, it was 2.7 trillion soons, so around 45% decline. The reason for the decline was that in 2022, in the beginning of 2022, there were a few large block trades which were executed on the stock exchange. I'll explain what kind of trade those were. You may remember that in the beginning of 2022, there were two large companies sold in Uzbekistan. One was Capital Bank and Ahangaran Cement. And those trades were executed on the stock exchange in 2022. I think it was January, February of 2022. And they made bulk of that statistic. So out of that 4.8 trillion, a significant amount came from those several large trades. In 2023, we did not have such large trades. So it was more of like a regular trading. 2022 was probably more of an outlier, a little bit of an exception because of those two large companies that were sold. So volume-wise, we had a decline, a pretty significant one, 45%. But if you look at the number of trades, actually the number of trades increased dramatically in 2023 in comparison to 2022. In 2022, the total number of trades executed on the Toshkent Stock Exchange was about 80,000. 80, yeah. For the whole year, yes. In 2023, this number grew to 411,000, which is like a five-fold increase. So that's a very good number. So we saw a lot more investors coming to the market. Another way of looking at it is to look at the number of trades which are usually executed per day. In 2022, average number of trades per day was around 300, more or less. Now we trade on a day, there are at least 2,000 trades Sometimes it gets to 3,000. So between 2 and 3,000 per day. So that's a significant increase, which is something we really like. That increase, five-fold increase, comes from retail investors, ordinary Uzbek citizens, who are not necessarily super rich. These are teachers, students, firefighters, ordinary people, who don't make particularly a lot of money, but they would love to test, stock market to see whether it's really interesting, whether they can make any money or how it is to invest, get that experience. It was also helpful that we had three small, but still three IPOs last year. In 2023. It was in February of last year, it was Uzauto Motors. And in December of last year, in 2023, were two IPOs. One was Uztelecom, the mobile company, and another one was Uzbek Invest, the insurance company. So that created additional interest from retail investors. And we saw many new retail accounts that were opened during the period of those IPOs. That is good, as I said, because the more people trade, the better their understanding and knowledge about the capital market, and it also creates liquidity. That's how markets become more liquid. The more people trade, the more liquid markets are, because then it's easier to buy a seller if you are a buyer, to find a seller, and it's easier to find a seller if you are a buyer. So basically that is very helpful.
Okay, thank you. So as you said, the IPO made the push to the stock market for increased the interest of the retail investors, and as I heard from other investors that stock exchange, Toshkent Stock Exchange, is expecting more IPOs. Can you talk about it?
We hope that we will see more IPOs in the market, and some of the planned IPOs have been in the news. I'm sure you heard government officials, mentioning some large companies who are slated for privatization. We're talking about large state-owned banks, insurance companies, railway, airport, Uzbekistan Airways. So these are all household names. And government is planning to privatize them, and some of them will be privatized hopefully through IPOs, initial public offering of the stock exchange. To give you an example, privatization of Ipoteka Bank, which happened in 2023, did not go through the exchange. It wasn't an IPO. It was sold to a foreign investor, to Hungary's OTP Bank, but it was a direct sale. So from the government to foreign investor. So what we would like to see, the same kind of privatizations happening through the stock market. So when the shares are offered publicly to everyone who wants to invest, every ordinary citizen can participate, and that will make the stock market much more popular. Because if large Uzbek companies come to the market and they start offering their shares to local investors and foreign investors, we will see even more people opening brokerage accounts and even more people trading. So if we now have like 40,000 more or less active accounts, then we will have maybe 100,000, maybe 300,000. One day I hope there will be millions, because again, Uzbekistan is a big country. Yes, IPOs are planned, but we cannot say at the moment when that will happen, because sometimes you see the deadlines on those IPOs pushed for later dates. Okay. And there are objective reasons why dates of IPOs are shifting.
Okay. And recently I have read the article in I think Kursiv Media. There is a topic that explains the stock market. It has a plan. Toshkent Stock Exchange has a plan by 2013 that it should increase the volume or the whole market capitalization by I think 8 times, something like that. To
2030.
Yeah,
by 2030.
By 2030.
I don't think it's our plan, meaning that we stock exchange didn't make that plan, but you may be referring to some plans done by maybe some other bodies, maybe some ministries at the government level, or maybe someone else did some analysis, and they have a forecast. And it's really hard to say now in 2024 whether the stock market will increase by 8 times or 5 times by 2030. In my opinion, if all the right things are done, all the reforms which are now planned on the stock market are implemented, both technical and legal, we may see even a bigger increase by 2030 of the stock market. Because let's not forget, we are starting from a very low base. We are still a very small market by international standards. And yeah, it is absolutely possible that the stock market will increase by many multiple times over the next 7 years. I just can't really give you any specific number because it depends on many other variables. Yeah, we typically don't make forecasts that are that long.
Okay. Yeah, as you said, I'm a follower of the Toshkent Stock Exchange on the LinkedIn profile and on Telegram as well. And I see you have so many referendums or like meetings with international companies, and I see and I expect that you are planning to develop a new software for the stock exchange.
I don't think we can really refer to it as a new. We have a software which was developed at the time by the Korea Exchange, which is now our shareholder, one of our shareholders. It has been installed here and operational since 2016. We don't really want to replace it completely. We are looking to actually upgrade it, improve it rather. We call it enhancements. Because in 2016 maybe that was a good system, but nowadays, after so many years, as you know, technology is developing really fast, and software programs that were good maybe 8 years ago, they are no longer meeting the current needs of the market. So there are a few things that we think can be improved in our system. And when I talk about system, I don't mean just the stock exchange system. There is also a system which serves the central securities depository, that serves also brokerage companies. And it's all, basically, you have to consider all changes at once. You cannot change only the trading engine without changing the CSD, central securities depository system, because they are linked. They have to work together. So it's a pretty complex task, not fast, and also expensive. But yes, I can confirm that we are working to enhance the system. We are having some progress with it, but still a lot needs to be done.
Great, thank you. We'll hope to see the new features.
Thank you.
So at the beginning of the interview, you talked about by improving the stock exchange, we need to build the system, like ecosystem for the whole market, like transparency and working against the manipulation and fraud. And who will guarantee the stock market will work transparently? I mean, I'm talking about the stock exchange, not the companies. Who will guarantee the stock exchange will work transparently and without any fraud or manipulation?
I see. Stock exchange is a self-regulatory organization, and Toshkent Stock Exchange is no exception. We have members, which are brokerage companies, and we have rules. our rules are mandatory for everyone. So every broker which becomes our member basically signs up to these rules, and they are obliged to follow those rules. If we see that one broker or another or their clients are manipulating the market, we have authority as a self-regulatory organization to intervene, to highlight that something wasn't done properly, and if we see that no corrective action has been taken, we can enforce implementation of our rules. For example, we may penalize a brokerage company or investor, we may suspend them from trading, we may suspend the instrument, which is the stock, for example, from trading. There are various ways how we can react, and that's again clearly laid out in our rules. But we also have a regulator. In our case, it's the National Agency of Prospective Projects. They also do their job in terms of monitoring the market. We call it market surveillance. So we have at the stock exchange our own market surveillance, people who watch the market, and if they see a suspicious pattern of trading, they can always react, and we have done such things in the past. We had several cases where we suspended the stock from trading when we saw facts of manipulation. There were cases where we actually told brokers that their clients were not acting properly, and we asked brokers to contact their clients and to basically give them a warning not to do that anymore. But like I said, there is also a regulator of the capital market, and they are also watching, and if they see that something is not right, they can always intervene. They can ask for additional information, which we will of course provide, and they have their own tools of enforcing the rules and regulations and the laws. Let's not forget that in addition to stock exchange rules, we have also laws. We have securities market law, for example. We have a law on joint stock companies and protection of minority investors, and a few other laws and bylaws which are basically regulating the capital market. And those laws have to be fully followed by everybody who is active in this market. And if something goes wrong, like I said, either the stock exchange or the regulator, or even both, will intervene, try to stop it.
Okay. So as you're saying that there is a regulator, and you have the control of the market, and can you say people can feel safe about their investments, like local people, local retail investors and international investors?
Well, there is a very broad definition of what is safe, right? If you mean that safe means that they will never lose money on the stock market, my answer is no. And anybody who tells you otherwise probably either misleading you, or they don't simply have a good understanding of the stock market. Like I said, stock market is risky. You can make a lot of money, you can lose a lot of money. So you can invest wisely, let's put it this way. But it's not a casino, as many think. It's not a random chance that you can win or lose. No, as I said, it's stock market trades on fundamental analysis basis. So in that sense, if you are asking me whether investors are guaranteed that they will always make money, of course not. But if you are asking that question in terms of whether they should feel safe that, for example, their assets will not be stolen, I would say that yes, with a high degree of certainty. Of course, nobody can be 100% sure about anything, because anything can always go wrong. But I would say there is a very, very, very little probability with the modern technology that we have, and market surveillance and everything, and the rules and regulations. There is a very low probability that assets can be stolen from somebody's account. In that sense, I think investors should feel pretty safe.
Okay. Yeah. So the following question for this one would be, can the international investor participate in the fair market? What I mean by fair is, can they feel that in Toshkent Stock Exchange there is some kind of rule or regulations for insider trading?
There are. That's again part of our market surveillance function to monitor that people don't trade on insider information, which is against the law. Foreign investors are like any other investors; they are treated the same way. We don't differentiate, frankly, between foreign investor and local investor. For us, every investor is an investor, and the laws and rules are for everyone. So every investor, whether it's a foreign one or local one, they have to follow our rules and regulations and laws of this country, which again explicitly prohibit insider trading. The practice will show probably. We because again we're still a small market, and we don't have too many trades on the market. Probably it is difficult for a suspicious trade to get unnoticed. We will most likely pick it up easily. But after hopefully the stock market grows and we have maybe tens of thousands of trades per day, then it may become a little bit more difficult because there are so many trades, and watching every trade and trying to see whether there was any attempt of manipulation or insider trading becomes a little bit more difficult. However, there is a technology which can help. Nowadays, such kind of market surveillance is done not by humans, but by the software. There are special algorithms which are written in a way to detect a suspicious pattern of trading and to flag or highlight some suspicious trades. It may come that after a thorough analysis by a human, it may turn out that maybe none of those suspiciously flagged trades were suspicious really. But it may also happen that actually one or a few trades were really suspicious, and then of course a human intervention is necessary, because then the investigation starts, and the stock exchange and the regulator typically request additional information about this trade, which account traded, which investor it belongs to, that's this account, every detail of that account, and every trade detail, etc. Then it becomes more, as I said, more thorough analysis of every such suspicious trade. And like I said, if regulator or the stock exchange determine that this was indeed a trade which was done in violation of the stock exchange rules or the laws or regulations, then corrective actions and enforcement will follow.
So recently I have read another article about if Uzbek people, like local people, invest in the stock market, they get the tax deduction. Do you have this kind of special treatments for international investors as well?
We typically, we as an exchange don't differentiate between foreign investor or local investor. We treat everyone equally. That's our job. But if you are talking about tax treatment, then of course it's different in most countries, and Uzbekistan is no exception. Foreigners are non-residents of Uzbekistan in terms of paying taxes. They don't live here, they don't work here, therefore they are not considered as tax residents. In usual circumstances, they would still have to declare the income they make in Uzbekistan, let's say if they trade on the stock market, and then pay taxes here, or not pay in case they can invoke a double taxation treaty with their home country. But that's a different issue. What we have in Uzbekistan is that if investors make money on trading securities which are listed on the Toshkent Stock Exchange, they make money and they don't pay taxes on capital gain generated on those stocks in Uzbekistan, and also they don't pay taxes on interest payment, let's say coupon. If a bond pays a coupon, it is not taxed, which is a very nice thing. I think Uzbekistan has done a really good thing by removing those taxes for listed securities, Why? Because it opens, of course, no investor likes to pay taxes, that's number one, but more importantly, foreigners find it very, very difficult to pay taxes in Uzbekistan. Not necessarily because they just don't want to pay. No, it's just a process of paying taxes is very cumbersome. It's very difficult, really. If you are a foreigner who doesn't have a permanent establishment in Uzbekistan, meaning you don't have a subsidiary or branch or any office in Uzbekistan, which is engaged into economic activity in Uzbekistan, then you are not registered with the local tax authorities. You are not supposed to, right? Because if you don't have any presence in Uzbekistan, why would you be registered? But if now you ask those foreign investors to become registered because they want to buy some stocks in Uzbekistan, that means that foreign investor has to actually come all the way to Uzbekistan, let's say buy a plane ticket, fly all over maybe half the world to come to Uzbekistan. Then they need to show up at local tax authorities to get a tax registration number. But as you know, you cannot get a tax registration number unless you bring a lot of documents with you, right?
Yes.
Charter, articles of association, list of directors, list of shareholders. There are lots of things that you need to bring, and those documents need to be in Uzbek language. And as you can imagine, foreign investors, they don't have documents in Uzbek. That means they have to also hire somebody to translate those documents, then to certify them either through the notary service or apostille, or in worst case scenario it can be legalization, which is even more difficult. You have to go through a lot of paperwork and a lot of bureaucracy, and it costs money. It costs time and money, and no foreign investor wants to do that. So I think the president and the government of Uzbekistan a few years ago made a very, very wise decision to basically abolish all these taxes on gains received from trading listed securities on the exchange, and basically they are sending a very good message to foreign investors. Uzbekistan is sending a very good message. The message is, come, buy securities here, trade, make money, and take your profit without paying any taxes. Again, that means that no paperwork, no need to register with a tax authority, etc., etc. So at the moment, foreign investors who trade on our stock exchange are still required to obtain a tax ID number, which is something we don't really like, and we are advocating for abolishing it. And the logic is very simple. If the law says that you are not supposed to pay any taxes on listed securities, why you need to register with the tax authority? Why you need to get a registration number? You are not paying taxes anyway, right? So we are, asking the government to think about it, to perhaps abolish that requirement for foreign investors who trade only listed securities, which are tax exempt.
Okay, thank you. What about the opening the account for the international investors?
Opening account for international investor is obviously more difficult than for local investor. In any case, the brokerage house or a bank which is opening an account, they need to identify the client. They need to follow so-called know your client or KYC procedure. That's a requirement of the law for good reasons, because every bank, every broker needs to know who their clients are. Maybe some of them are trying to launder money by trading securities on the stock market, right? And there have been many cases in other countries, some people doing that. So in order to prevent money laundering and even the worst case scenario, people who would like to finance the terrorism through these money laundering schemes, banks and brokers are required to know their clients, who they are, where they live, what their profession is, where they got the money from, etc., etc. And here, Uzbek clients of brokers or foreign clients, they are no different. I mean, broker will ask for the same identification documentation anyway. But if you are a foreigner, again, it becomes a little bit more difficult because you have to send all those documents over to Uzbekistan. They will have to somehow identify you in person. Either you come to Uzbekistan and you meet them in person, or perhaps with the modern technology it can be done via Zoom or mobile application, but there has to be a verification process. Nobody will open an account without a verification. And going back to your question, if you are a foreign investor, it is more difficult. It is more difficult. For example, Uzbek citizens nowadays, because of the development of the technology, you may have heard of JET application, which allows Uzbek citizens to basically do a Face ID and identify themselves with a government database, electronic biometric database, and that allows clients who use, for example, that mobile application to open accounts remotely with brokers. Yes. They no longer need to come from another city to Toshkent to show up in broker's office and basically do this account opening process. All that now can be done via mobile application, which is a very good achievement. And we had this dramatic increase in the number of retail clients, largely because of that, because account opening has become so much more simple. Yes. But imagine if you are a foreign investor. Your passport data is not, of course, kept in Uzbekistan. They don't know you. And it's very difficult for a broker or a bank to identify and verify a client who lives in a different country. That's why many banks and brokers prefer to see those foreign clients in face, as they say. They ask sometimes foreign clients to actually come to Uzbekistan to show up in their office and to identify themselves. So that's why for foreigners this process is more difficult.
Okay. So the last question is, what is your goal in 2024 as the CEO of the stock exchange?
My goal as the CEO of the stock exchange is to turn this company profitable in 2024, because we were not profitable last year for various reasons. But this year we would love to be profitable, so that's number one priority for me. Also to raise more capital for the development of the company from our shareholders. And we have done that partially in the end of last year, and we're hoping to do a little bit more of that capital raising this year. Also, we would love to bring foreign investors to market by creating custody links with international central securities depositories like Clearstream, with global custodian banks such as Citibank, JP Morgan, Bank of Georgia. So we would love to, as we call, build a bridge between Uzbek capital market and foreign markets, so that foreign investors can easily come and go. We would love to make efforts to also streamline foreign exchange regulations, because some of them are such that foreign investors are complaining when they need to buy currency or repatriate their profit. They can do it, there's no prohibition, but there's, we believe, too much bureaucracy involved in terms of paperwork. So we would love to streamline that, working together with the central bank and the government of Uzbekistan, and also with the regulator of the securities market. And the last but not least, we would like to enhance our trading system, as I already mentioned, to improve it, and to improve the liquidity in the market, to see more trades done on the market. as always, we would love to also work with the government to see more IPOs in the market, but we also understand that there are issues which may prevent government from privatizing those companies. So this is something which is beyond our control. But other things I mentioned, we can do certain things on our side to improve things, and that's exactly what we are doing. And those are all our priorities in 2024.
Thank you. As your last word, what you can say to the retail investors or the people who are on the age of becoming retail investor?
My advice to them would be tuned to stock market news, because you may hear about a new IPO or new company or stock which is very promising, and you may want to know that and invest early, not too late, after the price already goes up. Number one. Number two, do some small trades first to test the market, to test your knowledge, understanding of the market, and then once you feel comfortable that you understand this area, then you can start investing more money. Also, I would advise them to always think about diversification of their assets or their savings. Don't put all eggs in one basket, as I already mentioned. It is never a smart strategy. Sometimes it can work nicely, but sometimes it can burn you. So it's always better to have a diversified portfolio of your assets, something in the real estate, something in a bank deposit, and something in the stock market. Also, if I may say, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of stock market. It's not as complex as some of you might think. Try it, and thanks God we have now technology which is supporting this. You can trade our stock market via mobile application. You can trade it through web browser. You can even call your broker and talk to him on the phone and give an order to buy or sell over the phone. There are many ways how you can trade. Many easy ways. So our advice to our retail clients would be, try every method that you feel comfortable with. Not be shy. Don't be afraid of investing, and always remember that you should be investing in the stock market money that you can afford to lose. Don't invest your last savings. Don't invest all the money that you have. It's never a wise strategy. Invest money that you can afford to lose. That's our few cents of advice, if I may say so, to our retail clients.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the advices, and thank you for your answers and for your time. And hopefully, I think after 1 year, we will have another interview with you, discussing the new updates
and positive trends, hopefully.
Yes,
hopefully. I very much hope so. Thank you very much for good wishes. Let's stay in touch, and yes, if we see a progress on the capital market, I will be very happy to tell to your audience about that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.